And we're hooked up on this cold, windy day. Guys, it's Smallmouth Crush. On behalf of Monster Bass, I want to make a quick video about a bait that's been around forever, a fish catching bait that smallmouth love, and that would be the tube. And this beast here, he wanted it. He wanted it. We're going to talk about it. There, not too shabby, but there it is, the simple little tube. Tubes and smallmouth go together. We're going to talk about it. That's all coming up. So tubes, fishing tubes obviously produce a lot of bass over the years. It's one of my go-to baits. I always have one tied on. It's springtime right now. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like winter. It's cold, and it's a bait that you can fish super slow like I am right now. I'm just casting around fish structure, fish holding structure. So we have this nice little river bend here with some good rock, and I'm using a 7-foot medium rod, braid to a fluorocarbon leader, and I'm just working it around that hard bottom. And you're going to get hung up. And so I like to just pop that tube off that structure. A lot of times that's when you'll get bit, is when that tube comes off of your snag. That fish is down there looking. But it imitates bait fish as well as crayfish. So you really cover the whole category of what these fish are feeding on. And I'm just slowly working it back to the boat. And I'm going to work down this whole bank. And you can make a pretty long cast. You can chuck that tube out there quite a ways. Depending on the water depth and the structure will determine the size head. So I'll use like some sort of tube insert, 1/8 ounce, all the way up to 3/8, 1/2 ounce in some situations. Heck, there's a bite, got him. There's been situations where I had to use a 3¼ ounce weight to get down in current, things like that. Now here's another pretty good fish. I mean, they're smallmouth, they all feel big. But once you have them hooked, you just kind of take your time, let them play it out. It's rare that you're going to lose a fish on a tube. Now there's another beast. That's two pretty good fish in a row here on this bank on the tube. They definitely have some power to them. Another gorgeous smallmouth. If I can get my hands in his mouth without... There we go, look at that. Simple as that. Of course, some green pumpkin gold. Put some nice smallmouth like this in the boat. We'll get him back in the water and keep making some casts. But tubes are really versatile because you can fish it in super shallow. I mean, it's 2-3 feet up here, or you can fish it all the way out to 30-40 feet depending on the situation. There's a lot of good tubes on the market. I'm actually using a prototype tube by Gajo Baits. Oh, and that was a bite. By Gajo Baits. And there's some really good fish stacked up here, it looks like. Let's see if we can get another one. So as you notice, I'm using a high-vis yellow braid. This is 8-pound braid. There he is, another stud. And that just allows me to see that little tick. When that fish bites, you'll see that line move. And then I do have a fluorocarbon leader on. 8, 10, 12 pound, depending on the situation. You know, we're in some stained water. There's some bigger fish, rock. I got 10, and I'm able to flip that fish in the boat here without a problem. But another good smallmouth. Can we catch another one? We'll find out. There he is. They're getting smaller, guys. They're getting smaller. But that just goes to show the effectiveness of a tube. Smallmouth love them. There's a reason why tubes probably have caught more smallmouth than any other bait out there. And that's because they simply work. And they're easy to fish. A beginner can pick up a tube and drag it around fish holding structure and get bites. Snap it off that snag. That's normally when you get a bite. I'm just waiting for another bite, and there it is. Got him. Oh, he chomped on that one. He swallowed that down his gullet. There we go. I like snags because look, I'm gonna pop this off. There, I popped it off. Normally that's when you get a bite then. Especially if you're around a lot of fish and they see that commotion down on the bottom, and that's actually gonna draw them in. So I don't get mad when I get a snag. I use it as an opportunity to hopefully get another bite or two. So I'm going to cast that out. I like to keep my rod tip down when I'm trying to feel that tube crawling along the bottom. And especially in this wind, you're going to feel that bait and feel that bottom content a lot better if you can keep that rod low to the water there. And then again, there's a snag, pop it, and I'm off. All right, so we got our tube, fluorocarbon the braid, 7-foot medium rod. Make a long cast. Wait till that tube falls to the bottom. Here I'm only in 5 feet, so it didn't take too long. But now that I'm on the bottom, I just pick up slack with my wrist by moving the rod, and then I reel up slack on the line. And so really the only time I'm dragging that tube is from the rod. There's a bite. Then you set the hook. I'm not picking up, I'm not moving that tube by reeling. I'm moving that tube by pulling it with the rod. That's how you got to present that tube to these fish. Now they're getting smaller. Am I worried? No. Because a lot of times it's a numbers game. You got to go through some of these smaller fish to get the bigger ones. Again, long cast, let the bait fall, and watch this. So I got the high vis braid so I can see the fish hit my bait. I can feel it with a sensitive rod. I'm moving it with my arm and the rod only. And I'm only reeling to pick up slack. There's a bite. And I set the hook into a giant. That's a stud there. And like I said, when you get hooked up, you don't have to get nervous about it. Just keep that line tight, make sure you got good drag, and just let that fish play it out. Now he fooled me. He's not a mega. But he's definitely a nice fish. I guess he was kind of a big one. I boat flipped them anyways. What do I know? There you go. Nice smallmouth. So tube's very versatile. Obviously I'm catching smallmouth with it. Largemouth love tubes as well. And there's different ways to rig it. You know, we didn't talk really about, you can Texas rig a tube. You can use a tube insert like I am. You can drop shot a tube. There's so many different ways to fish a tube. There's a bite, set the hook. I mean, we could do this all day if we wanted to. And just like that, a nice fatty to end this video. Get yourself some tubes, fish it around any type of structure, hard-covered rock, where you think a fish like this is living, and they will bite it, I promise you. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, until next time, we'll see you guys on the water.